Hey folks, Andy here. So smartwatches have been around sort of in a popular way, if that makes sense, for 6 or 7 years now. So it's almost a little weird that Google are releasing like a first gen Pixel watch this late into the game. But at the same time, it's not like they're starting from scratch. They've got a bit of a leg up. Buying Fitbits back in January 21 has really given them quite a head start. I wasn't originally intending to buy the Pixel Watch, but there were two things that sort of drew me to it. One was the LTE connection, and secondly was the wireless charging. It hasn't really gone to plan though. So I'll start off, as I always do, talking about the design. Just for point of reference, this is the LTE version, which is, I think, £379. You can get a Wi-Fi version at $339, which obviously only connects via Wi-Fi. I specifically wanted the LTE. I like the idea that I can sort of go out on a run and leave my phone behind. Anyone out there that runs will know that feeling of having a heavy phone bouncing around in your pocket or where, even no matter where it is, it's still a bit of a heavy lug that if you can leave it behind and have everything happen through your watch, stream music, take phone calls, get messages, whatever, everything. It just seemed like a really good idea. I don't go running that often, but I just like the idea of it. So it is a relatively small watch face. It is only in one size as well. I would imagine in future versions, perhaps they'll have bigger ones, varying sizes, but for the first gen, they've just gone with this size. This one is matte black, but you also get polished silver and champagne gold. It's only 38 grams, so it is quite light as well, which I like. It's got kind of a soft touch strap that tucks in, I don't know if you can see that, tucks in underneath and just pops on quite easily. So it's really easy to put on and take off. The strap itself, let's have a quick look. It's got its proprietary system for taking off. And how well you can see, there's basically a little button there. You press it in slightly and you rotate the strap round. And then sort of the reverse of that to put it back on. Some people commented it's quite hard. I mean, you just see, that's only probably the second time I've tried it. And it was nice and easy. The first time I tried it, almost did it straight away. I'm not quite sure how people are struggling with it. It seems quite an intuitive way to do it to me. And it works quite well. So now that I've put it back on, I'll give it its one unlock. There we go, we're back unlocked. And yeah, I think it's comfortable to wear basically. I've actually worn this to bed. I've slept with it. I mean, kind of monitoring the sleep tracking, see how well it works. And yeah, it's been plenty comfortable enough. There's no sort of sharp edges on it. The strap's really comfortable. So yeah, I generally really like the design. If we touch on the hardware itself, so it's an Exynos 9110 chipset, which is 10 nanometer. The CPU is dual core 1.175 gigahertz Cortex A53, which sounds pretty low, but then if that's because we're comparing it to phones that do much, much more, really, basically. It's got a GPU of its own, a Mali T720. It's got 2 gig of RAM and 32 gig of ROM, storage, which when you first read that, you kind of think, 32 gig, but actually, I cope fine with a 64 gig phone, to be quite honest. And the thing that takes up the most space on phones are like video files. I'm not going to have any video files on my watch. The amount of music I have, probably less than about 6 gigs. So I could probably put like all of my music on the watch. There is a way you can get it to play music through the speaker on the watch. It's a bit of a hack. You kind of go into YouTube Music, and then when it asks you to connect to headphones, you just kind of come back out, you go to the media controls, and you can press play and make it play, but it doesn't always work. I couldn't work out what the winning formula was, but you could get it to play. So I did manage to do my sound test, and it averaged 77.5 decibels. It wasn't quite the lowest. There was that tiny, I remember that tiny little, the world's smallest 4G phone I reviewed. It was about the same volume as that, which I guess actually isn't too bad for a watch. But yeah, basically you wouldn't want to be listening to music from the watch. I guess you can take phone calls. I mean, I only ever took phone calls using earphones that were connected to the watch. And that sounded fine, that sounded great. I don't know, I would try. I mean, at a push, in a real pinch, yeah, you could just answer on the watch and talk and hear and use that. Sensor-wise, just to go through the sensors it's got an accelerometer, a gyro, a heart rate sensor, an altimeter, a compass, and an SpO2 sensor. But I don't think the SpO2 sensor is activated yet, so I think that's coming in a patch at some point. It is ECG certified, which I did try. There's an ECG app somewhere, Fitbit ECG, where you basically hold the crown for 30 seconds. Again, I'm not gonna bore you with a 30-second watching of my heart rate, but there is an ECG app, and it's got some nice sort of haptics, nice little taps for haptics, for notifications and other things, which I quite liked. The screen is 1.2 inches. It's an AMOLED display, 450 pixels square. It apparently can peak at 1,000 nits. Now I tried my test. I turned on the torch. This is probably going to mess up the camera, but you can turn on the torch, which is reasonable. I've tried it in a dark light. I don't quite know why it goes red before it goes off. So I turned the torch on, and I measured 703 lumens at its peak, at its highest. The screen by default is sort of only comes on through motion. I prefer to have it always on like it is. You can change all of that sort of stuff easy enough in the display settings, like screen timeouts, font size, all that sort of thing. Oh, do you know what? I didn't turn on sunlight boost for my measurement, so maybe that's how you get up to 1,000 nits. I missed that. So where did I get to? Yeah. Oh, and the other thing is the bezel. People talk about the bezel, like there is quite a thick bezel all the way around the outside of that, but I just don't think you can generally see it. I mean, that, you know, I don't know. I guess as you cut, that's where you actually see the bezel. So sort of, you see that on the right hand side there? I just don't notice the bezel. I'm fine with it. So software-wise, it connects very simply to your phone. As you're setting up your basics, that's all you need to install a watch app, which I suppose we can bring up real quick. So there is the watch app. Again, you can do a load of stuff on there. I think generally it's the same as what you can do in the settings on the watch. It also, you have to install Fitbit separately. Now, I'm not going to go through a lot of Fitbit. If you want to learn about Fitbit, I'll probably leave that for you to go and find a different video. I mean, I've not even activated the 6 months Pro. You get 6 months Premier, Pro, whatever it is, Fitbit. I've not even bothered activating that. I'm not really that interested in Fitbit at this point. I did use the tracking though. I suppose the Fitbit software can be used for tracking. So that's with the steps here. So when I've done spinning or weightlifting or just going for a walk, you can do that. And that can sync through into, for example, Strava. I use Strava. So yeah, I'm not going to bother going through Fitbit so much. You can just install Strava on the watch and record directly into that. I did, well, we'll come to that in a moment, I suppose, activity tracking. So I was worried software-wise. I wanted to use Google Wallet. I wanted to be able to pay with the watch. Again, if I'm out and about with the phone at home, it's handy to be able to pay with your watch. But I was worried, I'm sure in the past when I've turned it on, you have to unlock it every time you sort of activate the watch. But it's quite clever actually. So once you've got it on and you've unlocked, then it's fine until you take it off again. So if I take it off now, so I've taken it off, it will have detected that it's come off. Can you see that? There's a little padlock at the bottom. So I'm just going to pop it back on. So now, if I try and interact with it, it's locked. So I've done it with a pattern. You could do a pin, whatever. So I'm just going to unlock it. And now you can carry on and do whatever you want to do. And also, I suppose for security, to use Google Wallet, you don't just tap the watch on the terminal. You have to double click. There we go. Bonk, and tap. And that works fine. I used that this morning in Sainsbury's, and Google Wallet works just fine. So onto activity tracking. I do like the constant heart rate monitoring. I haven't been wearing it this evening basically, so it's only just, this is the last 2 hours history. I don't really wear a watch around the house. It's more for kind of when I go out or if I'm exercising or whatever. But yeah, I do like the constant, and I mean, it's every second it's updating that heart rate as well. I don't know, a little bit higher for me. I'm normally in the 50s, low 60s. So yeah, I do like the tracking of the heart rate. I find it's actually very accurate. Yesterday I was exercising, I was training on my indoor bike. So I had my chest strap. I was following a routine that I was playing on the telly, so I can see the chest strap heart rate on the telly, and I can see the watch heart rate I was tracking on the watch as well. And they were almost identical. I'm not sure I ever saw them more than about 2 out of place. Right, notifications just come in. So I had a little buzz, a little blue thing popped up at the bottom. And now do I have to go back to the... Oh, there we go, look. But you see how slick and smooth and easy it is? But yeah, the accuracy of the heart rate, I thought was really accurate, probably more so than than my Whoop that I use a lot at the moment, which I just thought was quite interesting. It's that accurate. I think a lot of people say the chest straps are probably the most accurate way that there is. And this seemed to be almost identical. I'm talking up through into the 160s when I was really pushing it. And then back down through the whole time. It seemed to be so close to the chest strap. So I thought it was really good. The GPS though, so I went for a run. I did a quick 5K. And now, I know I'm running along on the pavement. And there were some times when I looked back at the tracking afterwards, and there was a couple of points where I kind of, whoa, it didn't do great. So I think they can improve the GPS accuracy somewhat. Sleep tracking looked really good. I mean, maybe it's linked into how accurate the heart rate tracking is. And I suppose I don't know how accurate the sleep tracking is with the Whoop, but I've got 3 different ways of tracking. I've got the watch, my Whoop, and my sleep mat, the Nokia, the Withings sleep mat. And the Whoop and the watch were, almost identical as well. So I thought that probably a good sign, because the Whoop was always the thing I sort of trusted more, I suppose, when it came to sleep tracking. So sleep tracking seemed good. The ECG, I don't know. It just said, yeah, you're fine. They stress how much this is not, go and see a doctor if you think you've got problems. So if we want a battery, always a bit of a hot topic on Pixel devices, I guess on smartwatches generally. It's only a 294 milliamp hour Li-ion non-removable battery. Now, I thought it had Qi wireless charging. Again, if you think back to my reasoning, one of the reasons was wireless charging. Because if I go away for a weekend, I don't really want to take a proprietary charger with me for my watch. I'd rather be able to charge even off the back of my Pixel, with the reverse wireless charging. And Google have come out there and said, no, you need the proprietary charging pad. It's possible that you even put it on a regular Qi charger and it will say it's charging and actually it's decharging. Oh, really? So that for me was super disappointing. To the actual battery though, so I tried it in 2 different states. Google claimed 24 hours use. And it took, I can tell you as well, charging up, it took about 70% in 50 minutes was one of the things, an hour and a half to charge to full from 6%. But initially I was getting terrible life. That was the thing, I was getting terrible. Why is the battery burning through so quickly? I'm talking like 10 or 12 hours. And then I realised it wasn't actually connected to my phone. It was connecting through cell or Wi-Fi, and that was just burning the battery. Then I properly paired it, tried again, a clear Bluetooth cache, etc., and actually connected to the phone, it was great. So with the always on display off, in 12 hours it used 42%. With the always on display on, in 12 hours it used 48%. So to me, yeah, it should get 24 hours, even with the always on display, and I'm polling that heart rate every second as well. So I don't know, actually, I've realised I've probably not shown you many of the sort of apps and things that it can do, but it was more around just sort of talking through how... Oh yeah, because I used your Fit this morning. I can't really show you how that works, but that was quite nice. Not having to take my phone out of my pocket, I could just log different stats through the watch. I never actually talked through the controls as well. So the crown, obviously, you press to bring up all of your apps and you can scroll it up and down. Or you double press the button, there's another button on the edge here, and it will go to your last used app. Pressing it once, I don't know why I started with a double press. Pressing it once brings up your recent apps, as you can see. So, I really like it. Really like it. I think it looks really nice. It's really comfortable. The battery life is good. The screen's really good. It's such a slick and smooth UI. It's really pleasurable to use, I think. So smooth and kind of almost a little bit bouncy. They've, to me, I think they've put a lot of effort into the UI and how it responds and operates. It's very responsive to the touch. There's hardly ever any times where I'm having to press multiple times or anything. It's really responsive. And the heart rate accuracy is really good. So if that's something that's important to you, I think you're probably quite safe. So all in all, I really like it. I really like it. Whether or not it's worth £379, I didn't pay that much. I bought it secondhand. Loads of them were given away free with Pixel 7 Pros. I thought, well, I'm going to cash in on that. So I think I paid £210 for a boxed, new boxed version. At that price, definitely. £379? I don't know. It is a nice watch. It is really good. Whether it's worth that much, I mean, that's more than you pay for pretty good phones as well. So there we go. Pixel Watch. I guess I should almost put on that, first gen. I think first gen is really good. It'll be very interesting to see where they go on the future iterations. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I do read all the comments and respond and reply where suitable. But for now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon.